Good afternoon and welcome to another Budget Model Railways product review. And we're still with Metcalfe at the moment. They've been very supportive and the buildings are absolutely ideal for the layouts that I've been building. And today we're looking at two Metcalfe things actually. Let's move that out of the way. That was holding my piece of card up there. The main one is this one, N-Scale Brewery PN188. Now both that and the applicators that I'm reviewing today, MT907, were very kindly provided by Metcalfe themselves. I have to say that at the beginning, but it doesn't affect obviously what I'm going to say in the review. But I would say thank you very much to Metcalfe for supporting us and providing things for review. So this building came about from another layout, which I'll show you at some time soon, but I'm working on a micro oval engage layout. And the thing is with these buildings, I was sitting looking at it and I realised I needed a multi-storey, small, good shed to fit the particular layout. And of course, had a look at Metcalfe and this was almost tailor-made for it. So I couldn't really resist it. So usual Metcalfe building comes with the usual excellent instructions. These are really what make the difference. So if you haven't seen any of my other reviews, I'll repeat some of it now. Sorry if you have, but some people will be watching this as a first. So a few things to bear in mind is follow the instructions exactly. They are absolutely spot on. I find always take time to read the next bit you're going to do before you start building. Because there's often a little something that says, well, put this here. So I read, for instance, the whole section on the roof and then I do the roof. I read the whole part on the water tank and then I do the water tank. It does show you on the back here in with a couple of the other buildings. And I think it'll look particularly good with the ramshackle workshop, which is actually what I'm going to pair it with. So they're easy to build. They jokingly say at the beginning of this one that this is a fiddly kit. Actually, it's not. Compared to, say, the low relief tower block that I built that really was fiddly, this actually is no problem at all. If you're new to Metcalfe buildings, this would be a very good first model. I think what's so impressive with these kits, and the same was true of the ramshackle workshop, is the imagination that goes into them. It would be so easy to build this just as a, four-walled sloping roof building, but you've got the separate little tower, you've got the water tower, you've got the vents on the top, you've got the wonderful piece there to lift the goods up, which is exactly what I need. Basically, I'm building a two-level layout with no access to this floor except by rail. So I need to be able to lift goods onto another level. So this is going to be perfect. Albeit on mine, I'm going to take this out, move the door a little bit, which again is the fact that these buildings are adaptable. Now, as always, I will deal with some of the criticisms that people have, which is about the white lines that you get on Metcalfe. And you'll see on mine that I don't have any. And that's because, as Metcalfe say in the instructions, I prefer to use these brush pens, but you can use watercolour paint, coloured pencils. You just run it down where the white line is, and then there's no issue with white lines showing. You do need to put a bit of thought into that. So the edges of the roofs benefit from being coloured before you stick them in, and underneath slightly. And I always put a little bit of thought, what is going to show. So a good example is the canopy, where I made sure that I did all the white areas before I stuck it on. As soon as you do that, they look really nice. I don't think there's any issue with those at all. I have seen some good work done with people with weathering powders on these. Personally, I like the look of them as they are. I have one very small criticism. Tucked in there is a little bit of ridge tile. It's quite difficult to see, in fact, with the light. It doesn't need to go there, but it's a bit awkward without it. And that needed putting in before you put the roof vent on. It's quite fiddly to do afterwards. But that's really a very minor thing. So all in all, a really fabulous looking building there. With these N-gauge Metcalfe buildings, you do get a really good look. And as I say, I really think the imagination on these is quite something. Now, the other thing I asked for were these, which are the fine glue applicators, MT907. They're not particularly expensive for 3 bottles. The old bottles that I've got are a much thicker tube. I got them from Hobbycraft about 10 years ago. So they are going to last a long time, I think, these. However, these have completely revolutionised my ability to make these because they're fine applicators. They've got a little metal tube in there. You put the pin in afterwards. You get a nice little drop of glue. I tend to get glue everywhere because I use too big a tube. And then it tends to go on the building and your fingers. What's really made the difference for me is that you can put the Yoo-Hoo clear glues in here. Now they're awful, they string, you get too much, but they are crucial to building these with things like the windows. Being able to put the Yoo-Hoo clear glues in one of these is really something. So I would say that if you're going to build a few Metcalfe buildings, then definitely invest in these as part of your purchase. You won't regret it. I buy my PVA very cheaply from Screwfix by 5 litres at a time, which is by far the cheapest way, and then you can just decant it in the bottles. So if you're going to build a few Metcalfe buildings, I would absolutely recommend these. They make a big difference to your ability to make the model. Beyond that, all I've used, craft knife, couple of different felt tip pens, pair of scissors, and a pair of tweezers, which I find handy. That's all you're going to need. So these are not big complex kits. I think for the beginner, they're absolutely ideal because you've got a really nice looking building there. I think it'd be very difficult to bodge one of these, in all honesty. And even if you did, it's your building, you've built it and enjoyed it. I actually enjoy building these as a hobby. I can understand that people do that aren't even connected to model railways. It took me about 2 hours to build, and they're quite therapeutic to just sit and knock out, in all honesty. I can see why people make towns and things, and certainly my next layout. Some of you will remember Market Town, which I did in 00, which I sold. It's the only layout I sold that I regret. So I'm going to make a little N-gauge equivalent, and that will be using these Metcalfe buildings. So there we go. PN188, as always, it's done in 00 as well. So please don't watch this and think, oh, well, this is N-gauge, this isn't of interest. These buildings are in 00 as well. Be very impressive in 00. I happen to work in N. I like them in N. They work really well. So there we go. Another quick review and another really excellent building. Couple of hours work, not very expensive. Nice finish, don't need many tools, and I would recommend the glue applicators. So there we go, and I've whetted your appetite on the next layout that I'm building. I've got a few more videos to do on my Inglenook layout, and when that's done, then I'll do the reveal for the other N-gauge one. Thank you as always for watching and your kind comments. It's always nice to know that people enjoy what we do, and we'll speak again soon.